And we're live one more time. Good morning, everybody. Andy here within South Florida. Today is not Wednesday. Today is Thursday.
Right.
We changed it up on you guys, and we're here live with Michelle and Maribel with an amazing topic today. A topic that is very close to me because I'm a specialist on social media, and these ladies are specialists in divorce and family law. So, wow, want to welcome Vanessa, want to welcome Maribel to the broadcast. Hey, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
So, ladies, how was your week so far?
Oh wow,
It's been very fulfilling. A lot of
very
stuff.
interesting issues all the time in court.
That is awesome.
Yes.
That
Every day is
awesome.
different for us.
Every day.
So this is like our third or fourth broadcast, I think.
Correct.
And wow, the topics we've covered are simply amazing, very detailed, very important in the family law area. So I was kind of excited when I got the list of topics for today because we want to talk about social media and how it impacts divorces, alimony, and custody rights. Wow, that's a handful. So, hey Maggie, good morning. You have
Good morning,
fans.
guys.
You got people coming in. There's Michael. So, social media and divorce. Talk to us.
It is the most important thing for people to understand because our culture today is everything is in Instagram, everything is in Facebook. You eat a dinner and you take a picture of your food and you post it up. It's like we're living a free-for-all in terms of videos and sharing everything with the public.
Right.
So when you're doing that, thank goodness that I'm happily married. That's great, Michael. We like to hear that. So when you're looking at posting everything in your life so that everybody else could see, it becomes so routine and it becomes such a regular part of your day that you don't realize how that could affect you in your divorces. Talk to them about the issue of alimony and how important the social media is.
Definitely. I mean, we see this, Michelle and I, day in and day out. In our cases, like Michelle said, we're so used to posting everything, but we have seen it in court. For example, we're asking for alimony for a spouse because we're saying, they have need, they're not able to do even the most ordinary things in their lives because they need the person to help them financially. And then we'll be in court, and photographs will come out where that individual is out, in Europe or is out renting a yacht or a boat, etc. Obviously showing,
or with a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
And also remember that even though Florida is a no-fault state, obviously those things are you in a relationship with someone and that person is helping you out financially, and then if you have all these posts on social media where you went on a cruise, you went on a trip, you're on a gambling cruise. Obviously there you go, gambling cruise. If you have the ability and the money to spend it on a gambling cruise, then you really don't need it for everyday life. So those kind of things, I mean, we see it every day. If someone is making as an affirmative defense, which is basically I'm trying to argue against I'm trying to argue that you don't need alimony because you are living with someone and they're helping you with the expenses, and the person is maybe denying it. That's not true. If it's the wife, it's not true. I'm not in a relationship with this gentleman. We're just friends. And then lo and behold, social media, you pull it and they have photograph after photograph. I mean, it's come up in one of my cases where we were alleging inability to work. My client couldn't work because of certain restrictions, physical restrictions and psychological restrictions, and then lo and behold, all these photographs showing you're on a jet ski, or you're not really depressed because you're out partying with your friends, and that's all on social media. It also comes out in terms of the custody, the child custody, where the other parent is saying, I'm giving, they want the time sharing, but they're really out, partying with their friends, and then you see the time, and it's the time when that parent should have been at home with that child,
and they're checking in because you check in everywhere.
Right. So there you have right there a violation.
Right.
You don't have ability to take care of that child. So social media, when you are in a divorce proceeding, a custody proceeding, any type of legal proceeding, you are now held, I would always say, to a higher standard because you are under scrutiny. What you and I, as everyday folks, would consider to be fine and to be normal, now there are a certain set of rules that are going to determine, and that judge is going to use, and we don't know who that judge will be, to make that decision. So you are now under a microscope, and what you're giving them is ammunition against you, or evidence, what we call evidence to use against you in court. And obviously you don't want to do that. One of the first things that we tell our clients is, please
do not post.
No posting.
Don't post
no
anything.
You think it's very innocent, but it could affect you. So no social media, no Twitter, none of that. Keep it to a minimal. Text messages, all of that is admissible in court, and you don't know how it'll affect your case.
Well, here's the thing, and wow, based on the comments so far and the people that have been commenting, this is a hot topic. I mean, it's definitely a hot topic.
It is.
But something to understand, and for those of you just watching, welcome. My name is Andy within South Florida, and we're here with Maribel and Michelle, and we're talking about a topic that is so relevant in our community today, because social media is everywhere. And here's the thing, when somebody gets married, it's a happy moment, right? I mean, couples get married, the wedding, party, celebration. Nobody expects
a divorce to happen
in the future.
Yep.
And we hope that nobody gets divorced in the future, but the reality is that nobody expects that.
That's exactly right.
All that time, though, their devices are in their hand, and they're so used to posting. Yes. And you're right, the foods, the trips, the adventures. Here comes the girlfriend, or here comes the boyfriend, here comes the affair. The social media continues.
That's right.
And
to add to that, with that social media, also when you pair up your phone with the iCloud, we've had cases where everybody shares all the phones, right? I don't know the technicalities of it, but everybody shares it, and then somebody uploads, a spouse uploads the phone and reboots it or restores it or whatever, and ends up restoring the other spouse's phone, and then you start seeing all these things. So wonderful things that we have with regards to cell phones and social media, but understand the repercussions that it could have, because I think Julia said your life is an open book, and it is. Yes. Especially you're doing it. You're putting it up.
Sure.
You yourself are doing it. So whenever you upload something, think of the consequences of what it may have 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, because you can't take that back.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody that works in social media and deals with social media, and I've been working with social media for years and years for my clients, I want everybody out there to know, once you push that button, once you push that send button, it cannot be erased. You might erase it from your device. You might think you're erasing it from your computer screen. But once that hits the airwaves and it hits the network, it cannot be erased.
Right.
There is a trace. And even if you erase from all your devices, whatever internet connection you were on, whatever network, it has an IP address on it.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
exactly
IP address can be traced back. So whether you have AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, whoever you have, that has an address. There is a definite and traceable trail on anything you post on social media. So
we've actually subpoenaed.
I was going to say,
we've actually subpoenaed
to follow up.
To
on
follow,
that,
that's
yes,
exactly right.
We've actually had an opportunity where a couple of times we've actually filed ex parte motions, which means we're not letting the other side know. We have a reason to believe that there is some very relevant information on a computer that is going to be
destroyed or deleted.
Right. So then we have actually asked the judge on an emergency basis, Judge, let us go in and take those computers, take that computer because there's information on there. And we do find that it was attempted, they attempted to delete it, but that computer expert can go in and
that's exactly right.
And restore. I don't know how they do it. Actually, that's why we hire these experts, but they can actually give us everything that someone attempted to erase. And then worse, we can actually show through that expert that this party not only had that information at one point, but attempted to destroy it or delete it, which obviously is not going to look well in court.
And we talked about social media. We're talking about, what about text messages? Because text messages are
you can
private.
Do the same. Well, you think they're private.
You think they're private.
You think they're private. We've actually subpoenaed for text messages as well. It depends on the carrier. Some carriers do, some carriers don't. But all that is it's subject to an open book.
Text messages are between the parties, etc. They're admissible. Actually, in our child custody cases,
wow.
To prove, all kinds of things. So those can be admissions against interest. They can be so they come in all the time. All we would have to show is you sent this person this text message on this date. Everything has dates on it, though. Also, what is it? The WhatsApp.
Yes.
Yes.
So WhatsApp.
That's very popular.
WhatsApp. Oh wow, WhatsApp. Yeah, WhatsApp. Thank you to the creators of WhatsApp. I've actually had cases where sometimes there's an objection. You have to give me the entire record. Well, you know what? On WhatsApp, I happen to know because we did this on a case. You can actually download the entire conversation that you've had with that person, unless it was deleted by an individual. And normally one of the parties has it. We can download everything with the times and the dates and the things that people put on WhatsApp.
So is it safe to say that social media has made your job easier?
Easier or harder?
Easier or
depending
harder?
on who it is that we represent.
Depends.
Right.
Yeah. But it's definitely something that you need to
be aware of,
about,
and
you need to be educated on, and that's something that one of the first things I tell clients: listen, social media, all of that, the WhatsApp, communicate in a professional manner when you are communicating with that other person, because
don't put anything in writing.
What is the saying that we have, Michelle? Don't put anything in writing unless you for sure know that if that is read in court in your case,
it is not going to harm you.
You're going to be fine. And if you have a doubt, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't push that send button. If there is a small doubt in your mind, I don't know if this is the correct thing to say or the correct way to say it, or should I even be talking about it, then don't do it. If there's a doubt in your mind, don't do it.
And we talked about how social media affects alimony, because remember, alimony is based on primarily need versus ability to pay.
Right.
But it also affects custody rights, because what we always talk about, if one parent is saying, I have all this time, or I've been offering time, like Mari said, and they're all checking in, partying, or they say, this is my time with my baby, and then that day, they're at a party or they're at a club at 2 o'clock in the morning, who's taking care of the baby?
Right. Wow.
Okay. So, and people do it all the time. They want everybody to know, I'm at this club. I'm partying with these people.
Of course.
They're drinking. They're behaving the way that they behave. Always think of how you behave and how that's going to affect how that would look to a judge. Remember, the judge is the one that's making this decision. Would our judge think that it's appropriate for me to behave this way when I have this child, or when I'm supposed to be taking care of the child? So yes, social media has made our job very easy in certain cases, but it's also destroyed us in others. And clients come to us the way that they come to us. And that's why it's important for you guys to know now, don't post anything on social media, because it won't affect you in your case. Think about it. Is it appropriate for me to be doing this with a bunch of people when I'm fighting a divorce, I'm asking for alimony, I'm asking for my rights with my children? Think about it. And if you think that it's not appropriate, don't do it. Because at some point it's going to be found. At some point.
And it's kind of very difficult, because when somebody is having an affair or somebody's at the club, they probably are not thinking of divorce yet. They're thinking, I can get away with this.
That's exactly right.
I can get away with this. So, I'm posting here, I'm posting there, and I can get away.
And it may not even be you who's posting. What if you're with a group of people and they tag you?
Wow, this has many layers, doesn't it?
That's exactly right.
And the other thing is, you think, well, she or he doesn't have access to my Facebook. No, but your friend of a friend.
And
and you put it out there, they could, their friend gave
and if
them.
a friend liked it, as I understand it, if I liked your post,
sure,
and you and I are friends, you may be able to see the post that I liked. So it overlaps in so many areas.
And then not to mention that if you're on apps like Instagram, Facebook, that you can tag the location you're in.
Right.
And no, I was not there.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Of course you were.
Right.
At least your phone was there.
Right.
Did you have possession of your phone at that time? Because your phone was there.
Right.
So we talked about parents and social media, and we touched a little bit about children. What about children on social media talking about their parents and talking about issues at the household?
Right.
Is that admissible, and is that usable?
You see, the issue with children is very delicate. As a matter of fact, children cannot participate or cannot even be in court unless there's a court order and the judge has made a determination that is something that's appropriate. Children should not be involved in a divorce. I know a very seasoned guardian ad litem who says, there's an envelope, and that envelope, the child is in the envelope. Keep that envelope closed, it's sealed, protected. Protect your children. So when it comes to children and any type of legal proceeding, keep them out of it unless the judge has requested, there's an order indicating that child will be participating, will be involved in those proceedings. The way that anything regarding a child, what a child wrote, what a child said, comes into court is protected, and typically that comes in through what we call a guardian ad litem. Michelle and I have served as guardian ad litem on cases. Guardian ad litems serve as the voice for the children, or the representation or the representative for the children, and then through them, if the judge says it's okay to come in, things like whatever a child said or what a child did will come in. There are rules against how and when that can come in, but we always strive. The goal of all cases is keep them protected, keep them away, insulate them. Don't let them know that there's a hearing coming up. Don't let them know that you're arguing for them to go to Columbus, or for them to go and participate in this activity, and that dad said no or mom said no. Keep them insulated. This is what I always say. Right. We're in a conflict with the other parent. We have an issue. And it's stressful for us. We get headaches about it. We worry about it. We lose sleep about it. Don't pass that burden to your children.
It's not fair.
Don't let them know that that's going on. Imagine how you feel going through this proceeding, either paternity, child support, or divorce. No, it's traumatic for us as adults. I mean, I don't know if I've said, studies have found, and I read an article somewhere, something that says the most traumatic thing that an individual can go through is losing a child. That's number one. Number two is losing a spouse, a husband or wife, when you're in
an intact
relationship, marriage. And number three is going through a divorce or this type of proceeding, a paternity divorce proceeding. So it's traumatic, it's stressful. Keep your children away from that. Protect them as much as possible. Insulate them. If you think that your child wrote a journal and said something that you think is relevant, then you give that to whoever's representing you in the case to see how that can come in. You don't talk to the child about it unless it's in a therapeutic setting, and you've already, if you're able to, have talked to the other parent about it, and you've made a joint decision. If you can't do that, then don't do it, because it's not fair to scar that child.
The children deserve the right to grow up thinking that you are the greatest dad in the world and that you are the greatest mom in the world. Okay? Regardless of whether you sucked at it as a husband or as a father, or you sucked as a wife or as a mother, you're trying to have mental health and emotional health for your child. You don't want to scar your child. It's bad enough that the divorce is breaking up a family. Don't destroy your child in the process. Don't destroy it. It's not fair. It's not right. And then what that's going to do is it's going to perpetuate. Your child is going to go and do the same thing in his or her relationships as an adult, and that's not fair. It's not fair. Whatever dysfunction you and your spouse had that you couldn't resolve, you should have the insight in figuring out what it was, so that if you pair up with somebody else, you don't make the same mistakes. But don't pass that on to your child. That's not fair to them. They didn't choose to come into this world. You did. And as a parent, you want to make sure that you protect that child from bullies, from the outside world. You teach them how to defend themselves, how to properly use words, right? How to deal with your. Don't be the one that's being the aggressor towards your child.
Yeah, and Michelle and I, we started out with a question of, is something that a child wrote admissible in court? Can I use this in court? And obviously we answer it in a legal way because, we do. But then, and I understand we go off into this tangent about, your obligations as parents to protect children, because you know what? We can't talk about this enough. We see it day in and day out. It's been 20 years that both of us have been doing this. And one of the things that is most striking to us is the impact that these type of legal proceedings, divorce, adoptions, custodies, domestic violence, have on children. And so one of the things that we stress to our clients, or try to stress to our clients, is, be mindful of how this is impacting, your child, and what you want to achieve in terms of that. And I think we find that is something that we both lose so much as moms, as individuals, as litigators. We lose a lot of sleep over this issue, and so when we have an opportunity,
we try to.
We have
It
to
may
talk
not be
about
well
it.
received.
We have to
They
talk
may
about
not
it.
want to hear it, because a lot of people
Yeah.
walk in thinking, I'm going to destroy him. He cheated on me. I
And
understand.
that's fine. We can do that.
But don't bring your kid in. Don't tell your child.
no qualms about that.
because your father. Imagínate, your father está ahí con esa. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
There's a lot of times that children are used as pawns in these divorce matters, and it's not fair for the kid.
Right.
It's not fair for the child, and
we can accomplish that goal of hearing you and what you want in the divorce and accomplishing it, or getting, trying to accomplish it. Obviously, there's never any guarantees, but we could do that without including the children.
Right.
We could do that, and we can protect the children.
Right.
So there's just make sure we understand boundaries, and we always safeguard the children. What you want to accomplish in a divorce, what your goals are, we will that can be heard, that can be addressed, and obviously with no guarantees being made, right?
Of course.
We can pursue that, to the extent that you want, or to the extent possible, but we always can do it and protect the children.
And you know what we say to our clients, and it's really sad that I'm going to tell you this. It is. It's
Remember
really
that we are live.
Maybe we shouldn't be live.
We
We're live,
are
Michelle.
It is sad.
We are live.
You don't have to talk bad about the other parent.
Right.
If that parent is bad, your child eventually will grow up and will know it.
Great point.
Okay? And it's sad to tell you this, because it's sad that the child will eventually grow up and say, wow, my dad was this, or wow, my mom. You don't even have to,
Yeah.
So even if you insulate the children, if the parent really is as bad as it's being described in the divorce or in the paternity action, even as much as we could insulate that child, if that parent doesn't change, the child is going to grow up, and the child is going to realize it himself.
Yep, it's going to be evident.
And it's sad that I'm telling you this, because you wouldn't want a kid growing up thinking, wow, my dad, he was or my mom, really? You would want that child to grow up and say, I want to be like my dad.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to be like my mom.
Wow.
Okay, so if you guys have whatever issues you have, go to therapy, figure it out, because once you have children, whatever your demons are, you're feeding them to your child.
That's exactly right.
Wow. Wow.
That's exactly right.
Excellent advice this morning from Michelle and Maribel. Very, very experienced in family law matters. For those of you just watching, welcome to our broadcast. We're here with Michelle and Maribel from Hasbun and Mendoza.
Good morning.
And
Good morning, guys.
we do this every week, normally on Wednesdays.
Today, just Thursday.
Today is Thursday, but we do this.
Some of these judges aren't cooperating. That's the problem.
We do this.
Can you move the hearings
We-
now?
What's the
Wednesday?
problem?
We do this every week, folks, and we invite you to leave your comments below. There's a lot of comments already on this very hot topic of social media and divorce. If you just tuned in and you're watching us now, we encourage you to watch it on the replay and watch it from the beginning. And
This is a very important topic.
yeah, and
It really is.
and if you know somebody, or if you know somebody that is going through these family matters and these issues, and you want to help them out and maybe say, hey, I saw you on social media, you might want to listen
Right.
to this broadcast here from Hasbun and Mendoza. It might be a good idea. It might be a good idea to help them. There's a lot of people that don't understand social media and
Yes.
and how it works,
Right.
and we see it every day in our schools with kids,
Oh, my
with
goodness,
comments
yes.
and with posts, and they don't realize when you push that button, you're basically leaving a trail directly onto your keyboard and computer, and they will come and find you, and they will come and knock on your door. So welcome everybody again. We have one question here that is, are children allowed to choose which parent to live with?
Wow.
That's a misconception. A lot of our clients come in and say, when can he testify? When can my kid testify? Again, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Now, if there really is a major issue, then we will get a guardian ad litem involved. The guardian is the representative, the voice for the child. That guardian will investigate. We'll talk to teachers, to counselors, to doctors, to the parents. Will go into your house, see how you live, how your child interacts with you. Go to the other parent's house, do the same. There's no privilege whenever we have a guardian ad litem involved.
Okay.
So we can't protect our client behind the attorney-client privilege or the records behind the doctor-patient confidentiality. Once the guardian comes in, they have every right in the world to look at what's going on, because that guardian is there to represent the best interest of that child.
Right.
That guardian is there to determine, are you really as bad as mom says you are? Are you really as bad as dad says that you are? What's going on? What are the dynamics? What is the child saying? And the hopes is that that child bonds with that guardian, opens up with that guardian, and expresses to that guardian. And let me tell you, there have been many times that I've been a guardian where children don't lie. Okay? I even get goosebumps.
Wow.
Where you think that the child is going to lie. Whenever the child feels safe and feels that he's expressing himself and he's reaching out for help, that child will speak. And it saddens me to hear the things that these children are saying when I'm a guardian. Don't do that to your children. Don't put them in a position where we're choosing one father over a mother. Why would you do that? Okay, now if there is an issue, get the guardian involved, and whatever the issues are for the parents, the guardian will try to get the resources available. Does the father need alcohol, substance abuse and evaluation? Does the mother need a psychological evaluation? The guardian is there to try to assist, to protect that child.
Wow.
But don't involve the child. Don't bring him in. Like Mari says, the child is in a nicely sealed envelope. Keep it like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully, because a lot of times they've already been exposed to whatever
Right.
issues at home, now, the preference of the child is a factor, or it is something that a judge should consider based on the judges base their decisions on what we call statutory law. So in our laws and family law, there is a list of factors that a judge will look at when they're considering, or they have to decide on where that child's going to be for the majority of the time, right. Or is there going to be what type of parental responsibility. One of the factors in that statute is the expressed preferences or wishes of the child. So does our law say that the child's wishes and preferences will be taken into account?
Right.
Yes, the answer is it is there in the statute. So then people come and say, like Michelle said, I want my child to testify. Can the child testify? The child can testify. Right. What if a parent feels that this is something that is necessary in a case because of the issues that are going on? We could file, and we have on occasion filed, a motion to allow or permit a child to testify. And what happens is a judge would make a determination, would decide based on that child. Things that are considered to see if that particular child is going to be allowed to testify are the maturity of the child, the age of the child, obviously,
the intelligence,
yes, whether that child has the ability to know a truth from a lie. And also the child, when we talk about maturity, state of mind, obviously a child that has special needs, not so. A child that is expressing stress over the divorce, not a good idea. Obviously, it depends. So what do they look at? Maturity of the child's ability to discern the truth from a lie, and the age of the child is considered. And so if the judge makes that decision, and they have to have a hearing where mom or dad is going to say this, and they're going to have their say, they're going to have their witnesses, the courts, there's a lot of cases that say that you do need an expert to weigh in. It's just not what mom and dad say. Right. Once that expert says, this child is mature and can testify, then the judge is going to make a decision and say, I'm going to allow this child to testify. We have a wonderful judge on the bench now that on one of our cases said, I'm going to let this child testify. And they do it typically what's called in camera. And in camera means in the judge's chambers, not inside the courtroom, okay. In private with the judge. We do have a court reporter that's present. Sometimes parents will submit questions that they want the judge to ask the child. Ask them this, ask him that, and the judge will look at the questions, will make a decision, and everything is being recorded, but mom and dad are not present. And obviously, why is that one of the safeguards? Because you want to minimize the stress of the child. You don't want the child to face mom or dad when they're having to say something bad about mom or dad. So even though they may allow a child to testify after, I'm telling you, going through this proceeding about deciding if that would be in that child's interest, then they would do it still with some safeguards. There have been some. I read some article. I love to read these little articles that sometimes when
She's
children,
a nerd.
I'm a nerd, a little bit of a nerd.
She's an informed family attorney.
Confession.
Very important.
She's a nerd.
Very important.
I'm a little bit of a nerd. So that actually, we're always focused on protecting the children and don't involve them, like I said before. But some children actually, want to express themselves and want to be heard. But like Michelle was telling you, there's ways to do this. We have the guardian ad litem that's going to come in. There's also the guardian ad litem is subject to some rules about what
can be said or what
can
cannot be
and
said.
cannot be said to the judge that they have found. So there's some limitations. There's also what's called a social investigator that can be appointed.
Wow.
Social investigator comes in, will go to the home. There's home studies that can be done. We'll go to the home, we'll issue a report, we'll talk to witnesses, and that is not subject to as many restrictions as the guardian ad litem, because if the child made a statement to that social investigator, that statement can then be said to the judge because it's not subject to what we call hearsay restriction. You can't say what somebody said outside of court. So there's different things that we can put in place to get that child's voice heard. For me personally, for Michelle, because we're always thinking of the children's best interest, unless it's a very severe issue where we're having allegations of, sexual molestation,
Right.
or physical abuse, or some psychological issue going on, or alcohol abuse or whatever, we leave the motion for the child to testify to the end, always taking into consideration what our client is telling us, what is going on in that family, what that child has shown, the maturity child, etc. Then we'll say, listen, we can either do this route, guardian ad litem, we could do social investigation, we could do home studies. If you want the child to testify, we'll make that determination, because it is going to be a process to get there. So.
But always be mindful of how that affects the child.
Yeah, we always we consider every step of the way, and obviously one of the things you're going to consider is that judge that you're talking to.
How will that judge take it?
How will that judge perceive that? Because at the end of the day, remember, the one that's going to make that decision is that judge.
Right.
So how do we know, Michelle and I, that have been there? Do we know how that judge will perceive that? So that also comes into play when we're talking to our client about it. But Michelle and I will always stress, let's address this. And obviously, you're not going to do this entire thing without making sure that you're going to do what's right for you, for your family, after we've talked about your options.
So this question comes to mind. We've talked about the children and the child. What about when there's multiple children in the household, and multiple children maybe are being used as pawns, and because this gets now a little deeper, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say that you have children, a brother and sister, and the brother, of course, maybe he favors the dad's point of view, and how much more difficult does this get now? And does the age after a child turns 18, is he still involved in the divorce? Is he still a factor in the divorce?
Right. I think Michelle has had the issue of alliances with either mom or dad, right. by maybe daughter is aligning more with dad, and the son more with mom. I think I've seen it more in Michelle's guardian cases, because she focuses on that a lot.
Yes.
And she makes recommendations that are necessary.
Yeah. Again, at the end, children are very transparent. No matter how much isn't it true that your dad did this? It's true, right? Your dad did that, right?
Wow.
Okay, it'll come out. My mom said this. My mom told me that she said that and they just blurt things out. The coaching comes out. Okay.
Coaching. Wow. Do parents really coach their kids during divorce?
It's really sad. But
That's
it's true.
horrible.
It is.
That's horrendous.
Sometimes
It's sad.
Not our clients. The other side all the time. It's not our clients.
Never.
Our clients are educated from day one, and they don't do that. The other side.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, the divorce is bad enough as it is in the life of an adult, but
in trying to understand,
Listen,
having to make kids choose.
Well,
wow.
Well, it's necessary. Look,
right.
it's a necessary evil. Okay, it's a necessary evil, because unfortunately there are some parents out there, always the other side, not our clients,
not our clients,
but that don't have appropriate parenting skills. So it is necessary. This is not something, having a child choose, putting a child, using that express preference or wishes of the child and actually litigating that, having a guardian ad litem, is not something that we do lightly. It's not something that we do in all cases, but the child needs to be protected. And there are, unfortunately, parents out there that have certain issues and do pose dangers to these children. And what we're doing and what the parents are doing, mom or dad, they're not putting this child in the middle of it nilly-willy. What they're doing is they're protecting their child, because if they don't step up and they don't say something that's very difficult, because it's not easy for these people to say, my soon-to-be ex-husband has an issue with alcohol. He's a closet alcoholic. My soon-to-be ex-wife he has been diagnosed previously with schizophrenia or manic depression, and I'm so embarrassed, I don't want to talk about it. And it's not something that they talk about lightly. It's something maybe that they've even hidden. But at this point, now that there's going to be a judge that's going to give that parent some exclusive time with this child, and you're worried because I know
you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I know the things that I was able to stop when we were together, and obviously that's why I'm getting a divorce. But what's going to happen to that child, to my child, when I'm not there? So you have to step up for these parents. Have to step up for these children. So, is it something that is negative that these children are in these proceedings? Yes, it is. Is it necessary? It's very necessary.
Right.
If it
depends on the case, obviously.
If it weren't necessary, Michelle and I are not going to be doing this. We're going to don't do it. Don't go there. You're going to waste thousands of dollars, and it's not going to help you. Whatever. Now, we do encourage. I understand it's difficult for you. I understand you don't want to talk about the fact that she or he was abusive to you, that the children was exposed to it. I understand you don't want to talk about the fact that he's a closet alcoholic and he's functioning, high functioning, he goes to work, whatever, and now we're going to have to prove it. But it's something that you need to do, because that judge needs to know that safeguards need to be put in place. You don't want to endanger your child. So,
and whatever the issue the other
necessary.
parent has, the court will always try to rehabilitate them, get them the therapy, get them the whatever is necessary to get them as a whole. So that way, because every child deserves a healthy mom and a healthy dad.
Absolutely.
And that's what
Absolutely.
that's what the court will want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it is, Andy. It is very difficult. It is something that we don't like to do, right? But it's something that is necessary. When it is happening in cases, it's not happening nilly-willy because, somebody's being spiteful and somebody's seeking revenge. Those things happen to a certain extent. But when you see guardian ad litems, when you see home studies, when you see psychological evaluations, those are other things that we ask for, psychological evaluations of mom or dad or the
children,
child.
or usually they do all of them.
You see that those things are happening for a reason, and the ultimate goal is get a diagnosis, get services in place, and like Michelle said, better the person, better the family, try to start the healing process. And why? For the best interest of the individuals and the best interest of that child and that family. So is it an ugly thing that it's happening? Yes, but it's happening because there's an underlying issue that needs to be addressed. It's a necessary evil, if you want to think of it that way.
We've talked about divorce and children and social media and everything, and there's yet people out there that still go on their own and they try to get the divorce done on their own. What message would you have to those individuals? And I know there's a lot of people that have been watching this broadcast, folks, and divorce is ugly. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody gets married thinking they're going to get a divorce. Mm-hmm. The reality is that it happens, and sometimes it happens after you have children.
Right.
And everybody's on social media, so it's a recipe for disaster, especially in the life of that child. What message would you have for anybody that's maybe watching you?
At the very minimum, go to an attorney, go to somebody who is a professional in this field. Get advice. Get a consultation. Tell them what it is that your issues are, what your concerns are. Have that attorney explain to you what the law is. Let that attorney educate you. And then you make your decision about whether to hire an attorney or not. But don't do this on your own.
Mm-hmm. I think, like we've said before, if it's what we call a simplified divorce, where, like Michelle explained, no assets, no liabilities, no children,
If you want to get divorced, that's it.
You
Do
know,
it.
then probably you could do it on your own. But if you do have, children and you have assets and things like that, obviously, you should seek the advice of somebody that has experience dealing with these type of situations, so you don't find yourself having to afterwards scramble, or you've lost or some of your rights, and not only your rights but your children's rights, what you're entitled to. Know what your rights are, what you're entitled to. If you after that say, you know what, doesn't matter, I know that in the state of Florida I can get this or I can get that, but I don't want it, that's one
That's
thing.
your choice.
You've made an informed decision, good for you. But I agree with Michelle. I think you need to go and seek the advice of a...
And not every case is the same. And the reason why I say that is because people say, pero fulanita me dijo que esto iba a pasar.
Yes.
Okay, so-and-so told me that this was... Okay, what happened to fulanita may not happen in your case.
Every fact pattern is different.
So do not guide yourself on what your neighbor, your colleague, your cousin said. Each case is different.
And I heard there a little bit of Spanish.
I'm trying.
Are you both fully bilingual?
We sure are.
We
sure are.
So if somebody is watching and somebody's like, who can I call? Obviously, you both have years of experience, and through the use of this Facebook Live technology, we've been able to share that knowledge. And for those of you watching these ladies, you're in definitely good hands. What's the best number that somebody can go ahead and get in contact with you guys?
Apparently, I'm the voice of the number. You call 305-386-2888. That's 305-386-2888. We would love to hear from you. We would love to meet you guys, to see you. Please call us. We're here for you.
You say it so well, Michelle.
There you go.
Yeah.
And who says attorneys don't smile, right?
That's right.
Look at these smiles. I got to tell you, before we started working with both of you, I always knew that family law existed, but I thought that was boring.
This is the most
incredible,
incredible.
I gotta tell you,
we are in love with family law.
I gotta
we
tell
really
you
are.
something. That's one of the things that this is, not work. This is our passion, our profession, and for both of us, we do something different every day. We see different people every day. We hear different fact patterns and stories, and every day. And every day.
Thank you, Damien. We love you too.
Thank you, Damien. Good morning. Every day, we know that we're applying what we know to that unique fact pattern, because now there's a twist. Now there's something different. Sometimes we're in the office seeing clients. Sometimes we're in court and trial, mediations, or doing gal work. Michelle actually has an all-day mediation today.
Right.
So that's what we love, that it's changing every day, that it gives us an opportunity to do what we love to do, bringing our knowledge to help people that are going through a very difficult time.
Sure.
And we're helping them navigate. And Michelle and I always develop, because it's the way that we are, a rapport with our clients, and we actually remain and like to have some type of contact with them after we're done.
To see how the kids are doing, to see how they're doing. It makes us happy.
And that also helps us, because, okay, did we put services in place, and did that work for that particular family?
Right.
Should we have done something a little different? So
hi, Gina. Good morning.
Morning. So that feedback is phenomenal.
And you know what we realize is that no matter how nasty the divorce is, no matter how bad it is between them, every single one of our clients has the underlying common denominator that they all love their children.
Of course.
Okay,
Wow.
so if we could take that love and focus on that love, and I will always repeat it every time I talk to you. I will always repeat, focus on that love for your child. Everything else, let it fall. Ponte vaselina, que se te vaya, que te se, okay?
English in the
All
house.
right, do it for your kids, because your kids that's what you had them. Make them shine.
Sure.
Give them whatever tools they need to make them a whole person with great, healthy, mentally, emotionally, physically parents. That's what we strive for.
Yes.
Great information today. Personally, I think this is one of the best broadcasts that we have done on Facebook Live. It really shows your passion for the children. It really shows your knowledge and your experience in the industry. Wow. A lot of comments, folks. We apologize that we haven't been able to get to all of them, but please continue to leave your comments, and either Michelle or Maribel will get back with you. And again, just reach out to them, contact them, let them help you. If you just tuning in, my name is Andy with In South Florida. We do this weekly. here with Michelle and Maribel, and we'll be back next week. We doing Wednesday or
Wednesday.
Thursday next week?
As of today, we're doing Wednesday.
Yeah.
As of today, we're doing Wednesday, but I have a little conflict, so we may do Thursday next
Okay.
week.
Okay.
We'll keep you guessing.
That's right. Keep you on your toes. Keep you on your
The
toes.
thing is that, you know, so if we get emergency hearings,
Yes.
you know, obviously.
Right.
Of course.
And thank you for being flexible.
You
with
are
us, Andy.
attorneys, of course, and
Yes.
sometimes they're not here; they're in court.
Right.
That's right.
And you're fighting for their rights.
That's right.
You know, folks. Thank you for the love. Thank you for all the comments. Andy here with South Florida, coming to you live with Michelle and Maribel. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys. Take
Bye.
care
Have
of
a
each
great
other.
day. Have a great day. Thank you.